Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. My name is Daf. I'm the creator of Burp Suite. I'm going to talk today about AI in pen testing, how we're approaching it, and the new features that have just landed in Burp Suite. While I'm talking, please post any questions that you have. The link for posting questions should be in the chat. And at the end, I'll try to answer as many as I can. So why AI for Burp and why now? Like most of the world, application security is at an inflection point with AI. Applications are getting more complex, and so pen testing them effectively is getting more complex as well. AI can handle a lot of grunt work, large volumes of data. It can automate more of the repetitive or the more mundane work than previous generations of automation were able to, leaving human testers to focus on the critical stuff. Attackers have access to AI too. They can scale attacks and move faster than ever. That means defenders can't afford to fall behind. Pen testers really need to take advantage of the efficiency and the scalability that AI provides. Now, pen testers tend to be a skeptical bunch, and I come from the pen testing world as well. We've been keenly aware of the hype around AI. I'm personally highly averse to jumping on a bandwagon, releasing gimmicky features just to say, hey, look, Burp's got AI. I'm pretty allergic to marketing fluff. So it's vital for us that anything we put into Burp has to have substance, has to deliver real value, has to be features that people actually want to use. We're also pretty skeptical about any kind of black box magic. So like, hey, we've made a robo hacker that can do what skilled pen testers can do. I wouldn't trust anything that claims to do that because it certainly can't. We're interested in using AI within your existing workflows in a way that you can see what it's doing and you can work with it. We're also very mindful of concerns about data handling. So some people are doing crazy things, throwing sensitive data around, training on it, piping untrusted input into powerful agents to perform actions. We're security people. We're instinctively very cautious about that. So if you're skeptical as well, we totally understand that. We assume you will be skeptical until you see AI in action in Burp. What we hope is that when you do see it in action, you will be as excited as we are, and that we'll earn your trust that we're going about this in the right way. Our core philosophy is that automation is about augmenting human testers, not replacing them. When I first created Burp Suite more than 20 years ago, it was basically because I was a lazy pen tester. I was doing a lot of boring, repetitive stuff, the same thing over and over, 100 times on every test, and then the same thing again on the next test and the next test after that. I used to write Perl scripts to scale things up, send input to different parameters, cycle through number ranges, things like that. That led to Burp Intruder, so that I could set those attacks up faster and more easily. Basically, the whole of Burp Suite's feature set over the following years has been driven by that same philosophy, which is find the things that can be offloaded to the machine and put those at the fingertips of the user. People often say Burp is the Swiss Army knife of pen testing. It's very much down to you which tools you choose for a particular task. We approached AI with exactly that same philosophy. So we asked, how can we use AI to make even better power tools for pen testers to use in their workflows? Even with the very best classical automation, there are still lots of repetitive things that people have to do. Because those tasks need intelligence, they need an actual understanding of what's going on, how an application function is supposed to work, what it's for, and the kind of things that might go wrong with it. What AI offers is a generational leap in the kind of things that machines can reliably do. So there's now a ton more things, quite boring, repetitive tasks that you can offload to the automation, just like I did with Burp Intruder 20 years ago. You're still in control. You decide what to offload. You basically have more options for where you focus your time and attention for the most creative and critical tasks. So you can focus on the things that do need your expertise and that actually are the most fun and the most rewarding things to do yourself. So with that philosophy in mind, how did we go about building AI? Like everyone else in 2023, our minds were blown by what LLMs were capable of. We formed a small team working on the question, how could AI deliver real value to pen testers? How could AI do for today's workflows what Burp Intruder did previously? That team went broad. They came up with tons of ideas, some great, some were crazy, some were complete duds. They had quite an emotional roller coaster of optimism and despair, which was funny to watch. Then later in 2024, we brought in more of our engineers. We had a bunch of AI hack weeks where people played with some of the ideas, they added some new ones, and they figured out what could work. We also began building out all the infrastructure that we'd need to deliver AI capabilities at scale and creating a really robust testing ecosystem where we could road test different approaches with different models and measure how well they performed. The technology was obviously moving at pace around us, so being able to quickly measure the progress in the technology and the progress that we were making was vital. Towards the end of last year, we had a bunch of features working reasonably well, and it was time to get these into the hands of users to see what they thought. We then had a private beta with around 30 experienced Burp users. And this was a real crunch moment, finding out if the features really were valuable in the field, surfacing any concerns people had, seeing if our infrastructure could handle real-world usage at scale. The feedback we got from the beta users was absolute gold. So they loved some things, they hated others. They definitely weren't shy about telling us what they thought. There were some surprises where a particular feature was way less useful or way more useful than we'd expected. We identified situations where the AI was overextended. Someone said it was like an eager junior pen tester, mostly helpful, but sometimes definitely overconfident. That let us refine a bunch of things. That was either to rein in what the AI was doing or to push it further. We made some of the features more transparent, so you could see more of how they worked to get more trust that they were doing the right thing. We absolutely stuck to our core philosophy. This had to be about valuable features that people actually wanted to use and would trust. Definitely no gimmicks or black boxes. And that brings us to today. So we've just launched this week the first set of 5 new features, Burp Suite, to everyone. I'm not going to demo anything today. I think that'd be far too risky, but I'll briefly describe each of those features. So the first is Explore Issue. So you can think of this as an assistant that picks up where Burp Scanner leaves off. When the scanner finds a potential issue, you can use Explore Issue to dig deeper, validate the issue, demonstrate the impact, look for ways to escalate it. It's like having an extra set of eyes that never gets tired of investigating findings. So it can do things like generate proof of concepts, proof of concept exploits instantly, saving you time. It can uncover extra insights like leaked data or escalation paths, things you might have missed. It's great for gathering evidence you can use in pen test reports. And the key thing is that you stay completely in control. So you decide when you set it running, you can see every step that it's taking, you can follow its reasoning, what it's tried, what it's found, what didn't work. You can intervene at any time, pick things up yourself manually, or just tell it to stop. This feature was an absolute smash hit with our beta testers. For some issues like file disclosure vulnerabilities, they would have spent a lot of time following up to go hunting for useful files, things like configuring intruder attacks, finding the right word lists, digging through the results. You might be talking an hour or two of time to get the best proof of concept, the most juicy disclosure. They found that Explore issue did all of that in about 5 minutes. The second feature is Explainer. So this is really a quality of life thing. When you're testing, if you're like me, you continuously run into things that you aren't familiar with. You might see an obscure HTTP header or some parameter that looks like it's part of a UI framework. You might see some JavaScript code that you don't really have time to dig into. When you find yourself asking, what's this? You can use Explainer to ask exactly that. Just select the thing and Explainer will give you a quick security-focused explanation. Today's models basically have all the knowledge that is out there. So it's like having a seasoned guru sitting next to you who can immediately give you context on what you're looking at. This feature isn't actually super intelligent, but it doesn't need to be. So we know from talking to users that many of you are routinely pasting stuff into ChatGPT and asking, what's this? Explainer really just takes the grunt work out of that. So you don't need to copy and paste, you don't need to alt tab, you don't need to write any prompts. It keeps you in the zone where you are. Like I said, we didn't view this as a particularly clever feature. It just does exactly what it says. What surprised us was how much our beta testers loved the feature. They said that AI has sometimes turned them into a ChatGPT monkey. They're now doing a new monotonous thing, which is copying and pasting stuff back and forth to ask what it is. Explainer really just takes away that monkey work and inlines it for you. The third feature is AI-generated recorded logins. When you're testing an application with a login, you need to configure the scanner to play well with that. You know the drill, you need to record a login sequence so the scanner can authenticate reliably. Normally that means opening a browser, clicking through login forms, dealing with single sign-on or whatever. And that can be surprisingly flaky. Sometimes you have to be really careful to get the steps precisely right so that Burp's automation can reproduce the login reliably. And that can take time, it can be frustrating. With the new feature, you skip all of that. You just give Burp your credentials to the application and it logs you in just like a human would. So in practice, it's a huge time saver and it gives you better coverage in your test. If it's way easier to configure logins and the logins are reliable, then you're much less likely to miss blind spots. This was a feature that our beta users raved about. You take an app that always gives you headaches, which is really painful to get the login working reliably. They said, it just works. I don't know how it does it so much better than me, but I'm not going back to setting it up myself. Now, we can't promise that this will work perfectly every time, but in 90% or more of situations, it should just work straight away. Now, the fourth feature is false positive reduction for access control bugs. False positives are obviously a pain in the ass. Any kind of automated testing brings with it the potential for false positives. You need to triage those as part of your work, and that's often pretty tedious. So we decided to tackle one of the trickiest categories of issue, which is broken access controls. Testing for access control issues is still one of the areas that involves a lot of repetition and monotony. A typical application might have dozens of functions that you need to test. There might be different levels of privilege. You might have complex multi-step sequences where access controls can fail at any point. As a tester, you often get a big matrix of things that you need to test, and working through all of those manually is really monotonous. But it's also an area where automated tools in the past haven't been able to do a very good job. This is something that we've worked on a lot over the years. Using classical automation, it's possible to fairly reliably detect when a function or an action can be accessed in a particular user context. So the automation can tell whether or not you need to be logged in to access it and who you need to be logged in as. What it hasn't been able to do previously is tell you whether you should be able to access it as your current user. So the machine couldn't tell the difference between things that are sensitive and things that aren't. Burp Scanner has had the ability to test access controls for a long time, but it's never been reliably enough for us to really recommend that people use it. And that's because of the limitations of that classical automation. AI has been an absolute game changer for this. It can understand the purpose of an application function. It can say fairly reliably whether the user should be able to access it. So it can filter the output from the classical automation and get rid of false positives. Essentially, it knows what real access control issues look like. The practical benefit is that it's a massive time saver on repetitive work. You don't have to do everything by hand. You also don't have to dig through a ton of false positives either. You can put more trust into the scanner output. So when it reports an access control issue, you can have more faith in it. That means you spend more of your scarce time on the most valuable tasks. Now, this really is just the start for us of using AI to reduce noise in scanning. We picked access controls first because it's so prevalent and so painful to test for. We're going to extend this approach to more vulnerability classes. So we'll be continuously improving that signal to noise ratio. And the fifth feature is extensibility through the Mononttoya API. We know that you guys are incredibly innovative in writing Burp extensions. You come up with all kinds of features that we'd never imagined. So we've opened up Burp's AI ecosystem to the Mononttoya API. This makes it really easy to invoke AI operations from your code. You don't need to write any boilerplate. You don't need to handle API keys. You don't need to create UI to configure anything. It just works. And for users, they can have trust that all the data is being handled securely. Everything goes through our secure AI gateway. They just need to configure AI in one place. So if you have an idea for using AI to add cool new features in Burp, definitely go for it. The PortSwigger research team have already been doing this. Gareth Hayes has added AI capabilities to supercharge his Hack Cursor extension, and he's added an AI assistant to Burp Repeater. Those are available in the App Store today. There are some AI-powered extensions from the community that are also coming in. Now, I mentioned at the beginning that lots of people are justifiably skeptical about AI, and we've shared that instinct. One area of concern is around data handling and privacy. What happens to your highly sensitive data? We designed our approach to AI very much with those concerns in mind. So I'll explain how we've gone about it. First, you're always in control. All of the features we've added are ones that you need to invoke explicitly. So if you select some text and click explain this, then Burp will use AI. There's nothing silently processing your data in the background without you asking it to do. Second, the AI models we use are not being trained on your data. They don't store anything. They don't learn from anything. So if you select some text and click explain this, there is zero risk that your data is ever going to be barfed out by an AI model hallucinating down the line. And it definitely isn't going to end up in an open S3 bucket where DeepSeek stores all its stuff. Third, when your data is processed by AI, everything goes through our secure infrastructure. We've documented exactly how your data is handled. this platform is in scope for our bug bounty program, we're confident that everything is handled securely. Fourth, there's a simple global kill switch in Burp for AI features in the settings. If you don't want to use AI at all, ever, in your workflow, then you can just turn off all AI functionality. That will apply both for core Burp features and for Burp store extensions. If you do that, then Burp will just act like classic Burp. Everything that worked before will still work. Nothing will be processed by AI. We honestly won't be offended if you do that and turn it off, but we do think you might leave it on once you see the value, once you see the benefits. Now, we do expect that attitudes to data handling and AI will evolve in the same way that attitudes to cloud and SaaS evolved a generation ago. People will gain confidence the data is being handled properly when the right protections are in place. And when people see the value that AI adds, that will start to outweigh the concerns about data protection. So if you're a consultant and your clients don't want you to use AI services today, that will change over time. Everything is ultimately about balancing different risks and opportunities. Your adversaries obviously don't care about NDAs or your data. If they're using AI to get an upper hand, then the risk calculation changes. It will become more risky to not use AI and your adversaries an unfair advantage. So just to wrap things up before going on to your questions, AI is exciting. It's going to change everything, including AppSec. We really are at the start of a new chapter of pen testing. AI has got the potential to supercharge your work, take care of the boring bits, letting you focus on the critical tasks that need a human. It's absolutely fine to be skeptical. That's probably healthy. If you're worried about using it, remember that this is always about balancing different risks. You don't want to risk being left behind. You don't want the most effective tools to be only used by the bad guys. If you're like me, connect with your lazy inner self, give the features a try, find the ways that they can let you offload the bits of your workflow that are least rewarding, letting you focus on the fun parts. It doesn't have to cost you anything. We've given all Burp Suite Pro users a bunch of free AI credits, so you can try out the new features, just update to the latest version of Pro, and you're good to go. And with that, I can see you've been posting a ton of questions, and I will do my best to answer as many of those as possible. So first up, will there be an option to use a local LLM instead of the one provided by PortSwigger? So our initial priority was to reach the maximum number of users. Most users in reality don't have the means or the interest to use local models. For the models we're currently using, it really wouldn't be feasible to run locally. It would be way outside the compute capabilities of users' machines, and that's orders of magnitude outside. Burp's Cloud AI Gateway can support access to numerous different models, and we're able to choose the optimal model for each task based on really extensive testing. So we can flex that over time as models and needs evolve. Burp's capabilities and performance would be significantly reduced if we were tied to a single model, and probably a much less capable model if it was going to run locally. A few users have asked us about this possibility, and we're currently working to understand what's driving that need, whether it's a need for offline air-gapped access, data protection concern, client NDAs, cost control, anything else. Those conversations will make us better placed to plan our roadmap ahead. Why can't users bring their own API key? Now, as I've said, we flex between different models and even different vendors for different tasks. We are having conversations with users to understand needs that are driving questions like this. I think, as I said, our priority first was to get AI features into the hands of as many users as possible, as quickly as possible. I think supporting the configuration of user-supplied keys for different vendors for different purposes would have added significant complexity and would have slowed down those features for everyone. Another reason is, to be honest, there's a lot of intellectual property in some of our capabilities, and as a software vendor, we do need to protect that and to monetize it appropriately so that we can continue to invest in Burp. So it's a question about using different models with the Mononttoya API and whether BAPs, why BAPs can't use other AI services if they want to. So the Mononttoya API gives access to the full Burp AI ecosystem, and extensions that go into the App Store have to use that. And that's for some of the same reasons why we insist that we haven't allowed users to bring their own key. I think it could wreak havoc for data protection concerns if there was a free-for-all in the extensions marketplace. You really don't want to be installing a random app and find out that it's just sending all your data to DeepSeek. So going through the Burp AI gateway guarantees that all of the strong data protections that we have are in place. There's on data retention and model training and secure handling. It would also be really bad UX for users to have to configure AI services for different extensions. We want a nice, seamless user experience, and we want the Burp settings for turning off AI. They just have to work. So that's the reason why extensions to the App Store have to go through that gateway. Also, by controlling that gateway, Burp can give users metrics and control over the AI spend of individual extensions, so you can see exactly what's going on. API usage by extensions is not a monetization strategy for us, so it won't cost any more. And now, as for private extensions that you might write yourself, extensions not in the App Store can obviously do whatever they want. So if you want to write an extension for your own use, if you want that to connect to any of the AI services that you prefer, if you want to use a local model, that's absolutely fine. They just won't be eligible to be in the App Store. Okay, how are AI credits calculated? So we have, even though we have 10,000 credits free for Pro accounts for now, how does this work? So yeah, so each time you use an AI-powered feature, it will consume some credits, and the amount of credits that are used will depend on the feature. So features like the explainer are really incredibly cheap to use. They cost virtually nothing. Other features that are more involved and more heavyweight will cost more. The majority of features, as we build out in the future, will have pretty fixed upfront known costs. So you'll be able to see every time I use this feature, it consumes this many credits. Some operations are more open-ended and flexible. If you think about the explore issue, that can be in principle open-ended, and you can see the progression of the thinking as it works through, and you control whether it carries on, whether it stops at any time. So it really will depend on the feature. Is data being used to train any AI, either by yourself or by other providers? No, there's no model training from any of your data. Can you give some examples of tasks or challenges that AI might struggle with, even as the technology evolves? Yeah, so today AI isn't doing everything in Burp, and we don't foresee a way for that to ever be the case. I think the kind of the broadest category of kind of area where we still see the human needing to play a critical role is giving kind of the direction to the work of AI. So for a well-defined task where the user invokes it and says, for this particular thing, this is interesting, I want you to invoke this particular tool, this operation, it is working really well. AIs are not perfect, as we all know, and they can go off track. And the more you chain together different operations and run those one after another, the more scope there is for things to go wrong. So I think we see the human role as being critical for that direction and that course correction, keeping an eye on what the AI is doing and intervening where necessary. So it's like many self-driving features in cars where you still have manual controls and you can still intervene when necessary. We don't see a path with today's generation of technology to produce a credible, fully autonomous pen testing bot that can replace a skill tester. Do you see AI being more beneficial for experienced users, or will it primarily be a helping hand for people just learning about web app testing? I think it really is both, assuming both of them are lazy when it comes to boring, monotonous work. Certainly, if you are if you're near the start of your experience as a pen tester, there might be more things where some of the AI-powered operations are really able to do things that you can't, that are not in your skill set. And that's a great way to learn, because if you can see how the machine will do some of these things, you then are going to start to understand more and learn how to do them yourself. But even for highly experienced users, there are endless things that you often need to do that are quite repetitive, that really benefit from offloading to automation to process information at scale, to just be reliable, covering a very long list of places to check, things like that. I think some of the abilities that we foresee down the line to be able to join the dots between different things that are observed in different places in an application, different points in an application, to chain operations together quite imaginatively. We would expect that some of those things that the AI can suggest or recommend or carry out will really benefit even the most experienced testers, as well as being able to offload boring things. Next question: why did PortSwigger decide to wait till now to introduce AI features? Well, this is really, as I described in the timeline, we could have gone much earlier and had a big splash launch of some fairly gimmicky feature to say, look, Burp's got AI like everyone else. It was really vital for us that features we landed were delivering proper value, that were going to be useful, and they were going to cut through people's skepticism. So it was important for us to kind of think broadly about all the avenues we could pursue in that direction to try and achieve that, and really get that real world validation from our beta users as to what it was that was most useful. That's why it's taken us up until now, but we have a lot of momentum. We've got a healthy roadmap, and we've got plenty of other things coming down the line. Will AI come to Burp Suite Enterprise? Yes, we expect so. It'll be only some of the capabilities, because obviously Burp Suite Pro is aimed at hands-on testing. So a lot of the kind of productivity, the power tool, things that integrate with your day-to-day testing workflow are not really applicable in the enterprise context, but many things are. So two of the core features that we've added, AI-powered recorded logins and filtering of false positives for access control issues, are absolutely applicable in the enterprise context, and extensions work in Enterprise Edition as well. So we expect that we will get some more real-world feedback from our amazing pro users, and then before long, these features will start to appear in Enterprise as well. Are you worried about Kaido? Good question. Well, I'm not really a worrier. I think it's good to have imitators out there. It keeps us on our toes. It definitely stops us getting complacent. There's room in the world for more than one security tool, several security tools in web security. Lots of testers use a combination of different tools for different situations. Burp Suite Pro is obviously an incredibly powerful tool, and there's a reason why it's the tool of choice for most professional pen testers. You need depth and precision. You need extreme configurability. You need proper coverage of protocols like HTTP2 and WebSockets. You need rock solid out of band testing with the collaborator. You need cutting edge tools like Lambdas, which give you full extensibility right in the UI. You need core automation that's been shaped by decades of the best pen testers and the best web security researchers in the world. If you have your own ideas of how to make Burp even better, we are always listening. So definitely get involved with the conversations here on Discord. What has changed since PortSwigger was acquired by outside investors? Are you going to hike the price like Nessus did? Well, firstly, PortSwigger hasn't been acquired. Almost a year ago, we did get some outside investment for the first time. The investor owns about a third of the business, and I still own the rest. So we haven't lost control of our destiny. After over 20 years of bootstrapping a business out of a hobby project, getting investor was obviously a huge decision. We thought about this very carefully. We were exceptionally choosy about who will be our investment partner. It was critical that we found a partner who fully aligned with our vision. That means a long-term perspective, belief in product excellence, strongly engaged with our community, ambitious but not greedy. We turned away a ton of people who were absolutely desperate to invest in PortSwigger and offering really silly money because they weren't aligned with our vision and they would try to make us change course. Lots of people said a bunch of reassuring words, but then insisted that they wanted a majority shareholding. I was obviously pretty skeptical about those people. I think the best signal that someone is genuine in not wanting to change course is that they are happy for us to remain in control. So that was non-negotiable. We've been working with our investor, BPC, for nearly a year, and it's really been fantastic. They bring us a wealth of expertise and experience. Scaling a business is really hard. I've never done it before. Most of the PortSwigger team haven't done it before. As we grew and things got more complex, there was a real risk that we were going to screw up. We were going to make some bad mistakes, and so we were going to fail on our mission, which is basically to enable the world to secure the web and have great fun along the way. The best thing about BPC is that they recognized that PortSwigger had something special. They didn't want to change that. Great products that users love and engaged community, not greedy or selling out. They've been happy to work with us to retain all of that while getting a bit more organized and professional than we were. But it's still the same people in control and making decisions. So no, we're not going to hike the price. We're not going to get rid of our amazing free output like the Academy or our research. We absolutely love our community, and we're not going to do anything that burns that. In fact, we're only going to get more engaged. In the past, we've never stepped up to doing proper in-person events to meet our users and give back to them. That's definitely one thing that is going to change now that we have the support to do it really well. So watch this space. Some of the questions that you've asked. What's next for Burp and AI? Well, I'm not going to reveal any of the details of upcoming features, other than to say we've got at least as many awesome ideas being actively thought about and worked on as we've been able to release so far. So this is going to turn into a really rich roadmap. There's scope to get do things like false positive reduction across quite a wide variety of different vulnerability classes. There's scope to make a lot of automated operations a lot smarter with genuine understanding of the functionality and the meaning of the content that we run into in applications. There's absolutely scope to take monotonous work off you guys for reporting your findings and writing them up for clients, a ton of other things. So we'll definitely be talking about more about those before long. Integrating AI into security testing methodology, and my current challenge has been learning how to do security testing in AI. Do you have any suggestions around how best to learn? Well, a good place to start is the Web Security Academy. So we have a bunch of LLM-based labs that have real vulnerabilities in that are quite representative of what you might run into in the real world. That is a great place to play and to learn. This is such a rapidly shifting area, so I think just consuming all the output from all the usual sources that people are talking about, I think it's a kind of area where if someone wrote a book about doing hacking of AI-based features, by the time it was written, it would be obsolete. So this is just something to really lean into your learning mindset and go and play, go and find out for yourself, go and read all the sources of wisdom that are out there. How can I get into the private beta testers group? Well, we aren't currently doing that exercise right now, but I'm sure we will be doing it again in future. If you want to be considered, just email us at trials@portswigger.net to express an interest, and we will absolutely be talking to you about taking part in future trials. I think we've covered nearly everything that isn't a duplicate. Where does the name Burp Suite come from? Well, there isn't a profound answer to this. Like I said, I started working on Burp Suite over 20 years ago, and it was just for me. It was a bunch of little tools that I was just writing to help me do my own job better and put them together into this thing called a suite of tools. Every software project has a name, and I didn't give much thought at all. I can't even remember why that word came into my head that day. There was no significance about it. It just ended up sticking, and I was actually in the habit of writing lots of different tools in different languages, and most of them being fairly disposable, and they all had silly names like that. So it was just a bit of an accident, a bit of a fluke that Burp Suite was the one that ended up enduring and surviving the tool you know and love today. Okay, I think that's pretty much all the questions. So yeah, thank you for listening. Thank you for asking those. They were really good. Do try out Burp AI for yourself. Use the free credits. Absolutely let us know what you think. Talk to us directly. Talk on our Discord community here. We have some other upcoming events over the next couple of weeks. You can meet some of the Burp Suite developers. You can meet the research team. That's James Kettle and Gareth Hayes. Thank you all very much for joining.